granddaughter's in your class, Eva, and my business is several things, but mainly building new kinds of musical instruments, which I sell to people that do a lot of recordings and soundtracks for movies and TV shows, stuff like that. And this is my main instrument. I make others, but this is the one that's gotten really popular. It's called a Waterphone, and it's called a Waterphone because it has water in it. And I started working on this about 50 years ago, and the very first one was just a tin can with bronze rods on it, and I called that American Thumb Piano. When the rods broke off, I threw it away and made another one. So I kept upgrading that idea. I kept making it different ways. For a while I was making it with enamel bowls, salad bowls, and hubcaps and exhaust pipes. And my training is in fine arts. I'm a painter, actually. But I had friends that were jazz musicians, and they would invite me over with what was then my sculptures, to record my sculptures, and as time went along, my sculptures got more like musical instruments and less like sculptures. So if you watch TV, you hear my instruments up, because I sell a lot of them to people that do soundtracks in Hollywood and New York and places like that. Now, there's several modes of playing this thing. This one is the most versatile, and I should probably explain the fact that the water inside acts in two ways. One, it acts as a weight on the bottom, and the other way is that it carries sound, and sound travels faster through water than it does in the air. So you get a thing that sounds sort of like acoustic echoes, but that's the water doing that.
You hear stuff like this a lot in
Each of the rods, of course, is a little shorter or longer than the one next to it. So I don't try to tune my instruments like conventional instruments. The reason for that is these pans have their own sound, and in order to make the instrument sound richer and fuller, I have to tune these rods against this pan. If I don't, it doesn't sound as good. So one of the questions I get asked often is, can you play a melody on your instrument? And my answer to that is, each time you play it, there's a melody, but if you mean a conventional tune or melody, then the tones that are in that melody have to be on this Waterphone, and that may be available, then again it may not. Basically, I'm working outside of conventional music. That is, the reason this instrument is popular is that they can use it for mystery spots or suspense in a movie or something like that, like when spooky thing starts happening, then that oftentimes you'll hear my Waterphone at that point. I've sold them all over the world. I continue to make and sell them. I'm back ordered right now into June. I'm a one-person company. I make about maybe 2 of these a month. There's 3 different sizes I make. This is the middle size. I make one bigger and one a little bit smaller. Now, you've heard the bow. Now, this is a Super Bowl mallet. It's got this one's made out of 2 different sizes of bamboo with a Super Bowl glued onto it so that it won't come off. And there's different ways of doing it. That's one way, but here's the way I like it. sounds on television?
Yeah.
Because I don't even have a TV set any longer. I stopped watching it, but when I do watch it, it's on a lot of stuff. Okay, so that's the Waterphone. Now yes.
Could you play the instrument by like tapping one of those
Rods?
rods
Sure.
at a time?
Yeah. Is that what you had, huh? Okay. I took the patent out on this in about 1975. It was complicated, and basically it gave me the right to sue anybody that copied my designs, but I found out that was difficult to say the least, because I would have to hire a private detective and a lawyer and stuff like that. So I decided the best way for me to keep ahead of the people that copy me was to make them better and better and better. So that's what I've been doing over the past 40, 50 years, is upgrading my design. And whenever I see new pans, I'll buy some to try them out, see if they work better than the ones I have. Currently, the ones I have are the best that I can find. So that's the Waterphone. Now, I used to play a saw that had teeth on it, and the problem with that was the teeth were tearing up my pants. So I finally found a saw maker who would make me a saw with no teeth, and this is a blue steel saw, and it sounds pretty good. Now, when you play saw, you can't do just one bend, you have to do two, so it sings. Now, I no longer work in a band, but I come out here about once every year or two to see Eva and her mom and dad. And while I'm out here, I used to live in Sebastopol for 24 years. I have a lot of musician friends, so we get together and play a lot of music and do a lot of recording, and that's what I just finished doing. I've been out here for 3 weeks. And we play a really crazy kind of music that's not like anything you ever heard. It's most of the people I play with also build instruments and play them, and so we have a little camaraderie around that. This is a 3/4 length bass bow. It's got horsehair on it, and the rosin, of course, is needed in order to set up frictions on any of the Waterphone or the saw. So the rosin is very important. And now we'll move on to some other things here. Let's see. I got involved with bamboo for about 15 years, and started a little bamboo nursery in Sebastopol, and I was shipping. I collected bamboo, and I ended up with about 125 different varieties. that I was shipping worldwide and selling bamboos all over the place. The main reason I got into bamboo is because I felt like it dovetailed with my musical instrument very well, and it worked out pretty good. And this is my version of what is known as a devil chaser or a batutu. It's a sound device from Southeast Asia, and the thing, it gives off a buzz tone, and the reason it gives off a buzz tone is it's got that little split right in the center, and by striking the side of it against your hand, you activate those. Let's see if I can get this to signal a bit. And of course the different sizes give off different tones. And you can tune them to a certain degree by loosening this little clamp and sliding it just a little bit one way or another. But the basic tone doesn't change, just the length of the tone. The whole allows for a two-tone. I call this a spring drum, even though it's a relative of a thing I call a gyro. It's got other stuff on it. You can rub it. And what I do is when I cut these slits, I vary their width and also how deep the groove is that I cut, so that I get different tones. And I use this in a percussion way, of course, with the people I play with, and the stick is kind of important because one side's hard, one's soft, and sometimes I use a smaller stick on it. So I can even on that. Okay, here's a piece of bamboo that's just straight. Here's a chopstick. I like those pretty good. But notice the different sounds that these give. This is just a door spring. This is a piece of electrical conduit covering, and put wires inside of it. So you can see that you can make a lot of different sounds out of not much. And this last bunch of stuff I'm going to show you is basically from